Off the southern coast of Greece, in the shallow, turquoise waters of Vatica Bay, modern life passes unknowingly over a ghost. Just 4 meters beneath the surface, hidden by sand and millennia, lies an entire city. It is not a myth. It is not a scattered collection of amphorae. It is an intact, 5,000-year-old urban blueprint, complete with streets, buildings, and tombs. The oldest known submerged city in the world. It is called Pavlopetri. For 5,000 years, its story has been silenced by the sea. How did a thriving Bronze Age metropolis vanish so completely? What cataclysm sealed its fate, and what does its preservation tell us about the world that built it? This is not just a ruin. It is a pristine archaeological case file. The evidence is submerged. The witnesses are gone, but the blueprint remains. Now, let us open the case file and begin the investigation. To understand the case file, we must first reconstruct the lost world. This was not a primitive village. 5 millennia ago, during the dawn of the Bronze Age, Pavlopetri was a pioneer of urban living. Its location was its destiny. Positioned on a narrow isthmus, now submerged, connecting the island of Elafonisos to the Peloponnesian mainland, it commanded the vital maritime crossroads of the Aegean. This was a gateway, a port of call for the earliest mariners trading obsidian from Milos, copper from the mainland, and pottery from Crete. When we peel back the layers of time, we find a city that lived for nearly 2,000 years. It began in the final Neolithic period, around 3,500 BCE, and flourished. What the digital surveys would later reveal is staggering. A settlement of remarkable sophistication. The city's blueprint, which we can still trace, covers over 100,000 square meters. This was not a chaotic sprawl. This was a master-planned community. We see distinct, parallel streets. We see the foundations of at least 15 major building complexes, many appearing to be 2-story structures with internal courtyards, workshops, and main halls, an early form of the megaron that would later define Mycenaean architecture. The city had a clear zoning. Residential areas are distinct from what appears to be a central administrative or public space. Perhaps most telling and most poignant is the separate necropolis. Just beyond the city limits, we find over 60 cist graves, rectangular tombs built of stone slabs holding the city's dead. This separation of the living from the dead signifies a complex, ordered society with established rituals. Let us imagine it. This was a place of industry. The discovery of numerous loom weights, a common archaeological find, tells us of a thriving textile industry. The inhabitants were weavers. The sheer volume of sophisticated pottery shards tells us they were skilled potters and active importers. And they were, above all, seafarers. Their world was defined by the water that gave them life, trade, and prosperity. They built their homes on a gentle, sandy coastline, in a bay sheltered from the region's fiercest winds. This world, so stable and so advanced, endured for centuries. It saw the rise of the Minoans and the dawn of the Mycenaeans. It was a contemporary of the first cities in Mesopotamia and the early dynasties of Egypt. And then, around 1100 BCE, at the turbulent end of the Bronze Age, the pulse of Pavlopetri stopped. The looms fell silent. The ships stopped arriving. The city and the very land it was built on began to be consumed by the sea. The question for investigators was not just what happened, but how. How does a city of this magnitude get erased from history, only to be rediscovered by chance in 1967 by a geologist swimming in the bay? The clues were not in myth, but in the earth itself. The first systematic investigation of Pavlopetri began in 1968, a year after its discovery, led by a team from the University of Cambridge. Armed with little more than tape measures and handheld grids, the divers conducted a 6-week survey. They battled poor visibility and shifting sands to produce a remarkably accurate hand-drawn plan of the city's core, identifying the streets, buildings, and tombs. But their technology was limited. They could only map what they could see. For 4 decades, this hand-drawn map was the definitive record. The case file, while opened, remained largely unsolved. The city kept its deepest secrets. The investigation was reborn in 2009. A joint team from the University of Nottingham and the Hellenic Ministry of Culture brought a new arsenal of forensic tools to the site, designed to pierce the veil of time and water. This is where the true, deep analysis begins. First, they deployed high-resolution acoustic sonar. This technology, mounted on an autonomous underwater vehicle, sent pulses of sound to the seabed, measuring the echoes to create a precise digital elevation map. This is known as bathymetry, but this was not enough. To map the architecture, the team used a revolutionary sector scanning sonar, a device developed for offshore oil rigging, mounted on a custom-built robotic trolley. Pushed by divers, this scanner generated an acoustic photograph of the seabed, revealing features buried beneath the sand. When we combine this acoustic data with the final and most powerful tool, the picture becomes astonishingly clear. The team employed stereo photogrammetry. By having divers swim precise, overlapping lines across the entire 100,000 square meter site, they captured tens of thousands of digital photographs. A powerful computer then stitched these images together, using the sonar data as a framework to create a single, unified, and photorealistic 3D model of the city. For the first time, we could walk the streets of Pavlopetri. The digital ghost was captured. Analyzing this model, we see the investigation's first major breakthrough. The 1968 plan was confirmed, but the model revealed the city was 3 times larger than originally thought, containing dozens of previously unknown buildings. We can see the megaron structures. We can see the courtyards. We can see the intricate network of stone-lined cis graves in the necropolis, their capstones still in place. With this digital blueprint in hand, the underwater archaeological excavation could begin with surgical precision. The digital model told them where to look. The divers now had to find the physical evidence to date the city and understand its life. The artifacts they recovered form the core of the level, Chichi, moderate material evidence. The pottery is the primary clock. The team recovered thousands of shards, and their chronology is unbroken. We find pieces from the final Neolithic around 3500 BCE. We find pottery from the early Bronze Age, and a clear explosion of activity, including imported Minoan and Cycladic wares from the Middle Bronze Age. Finally, we find a city still in use during the Mycenaean period, right up to 1100 BCE. This provides a 2,000-year timeline for the city, a continuous, stable occupation. They found more tools, like obsidian blades from the island of Milos, confirm Pavlopetri was a node in a long-distance trade network. Heavy loom weights found in clusters give us a human story. These were the weaving workshops. Large pithoi, or storage jars, tell of a city storing commodities, perhaps olive oil or grain. Now, we move to the central question of the case file, the cause of destruction. How did this entire city sink intact beneath the waves? The first hypothesis, a sudden, violent cataclysm like a tsunami, seemed plausible. The nearby eruption of Thera, which devastated Minoan Crete, is a tempting culprit. But when we analyze the evidence, the theory collapses. The city is not a field of scattered, smashed debris. The walls, while toppled, are largely in place. The graves are undisturbed. This was not a city blasted apart. It was a city gently, or at least gradually, entombed. This points the investigation toward geology. Pavlopetri is located in one of the most tectonically active regions on Earth, perched near the Hellenic Arc. Where the African plate subducts beneath the Eurasian plate, this is a land of earthquakes. The investigative team, analyzing the submerged coastline, pieced together the true culprit. It was not one event, but a fatal combination of three factors. First, global sea level rise. The sea is simply 4 meters higher today than it was 5,000 years ago. This put the city, level, dawn, moderate, on notice. Second, tectonic subsidence. This is the key. The evidence points to a series of earthquakes, not one, that caused the land itself to drop. The city was on a geological elevator, and it was going down. Third, soil liquefaction. We can infer this from the sandy, unstable ground the city was built on. When a powerful earthquake shakes water-saturated sand, the ground momentarily turns to liquid. The heavy stone foundations of the buildings would have slumped, tilted, and sunk into the earth. This is the verdict of the investigation. Pavlopetri was not destroyed in a single, fiery day. It died a slow death by 1,000 geological cuts. A final earthquake, perhaps around 1100 BCE, was likely the last straw, rendering the coastline uninhabitable and forcing the final abandonment. The sea, which had been its source of life, became its grave. The case file on Pavlopetri is in many ways unique. The final verdict is not one of fire, brimstone, or mythical retribution. The evidence paints a far more sober and perhaps more frightening picture. This was a death by increments. The city was not lost to a single cinematic disaster, but to a slow, relentless geological process. A series of powerful earthquakes, combined with the gradual rise of the Mediterranean, made the ground beneath the city unstable. The land itself subsided, sinking by perhaps 3 to 4 meters over time. What makes this site a world-class archaeological treasure is not the violence of its end, but the gentleness of it. The sea did not destroy Pavlopetri. It preserved it. It acted as a perfect, sterile time capsule, sealing the 5,000-year-old city beneath a layer of sand and silt, protecting it from the ravages of human development, agriculture, and war. This is the fundamental difference between Pavlopetri and the legends it is often compared to. Atlantis is a myth about hubris, a moral lesson. Pavlopetri is a fact. It is a 100,000 square meter blueprint of Bronze Age life. We are not searching for a lost continent. We are reading a municipal plan. We see where people lived, where they worked, and where they buried their dead. This is history, not mythology, frozen in time. And it is this tangible reality that gives Pavlopetri its profound modern relevance. The investigation concludes that this was a thriving maritime culture that built its world on the coast, believing in the permanence of the shoreline. They could not have known that the very ground they built on was geologically unstable, or that the sea itself was a slow, rising threat. Today, we stand in their shoes, but with full knowledge. We, too, build our greatest cities on the coast. We, too, face a rising sea, one accelerated not by regional tectonics, but by a global climate phenomenon. Pavlopetri is not a warning from the gods. It is a data-driven case study. It is a 5,000-year-old mirror, showing us, in precise archaeological detail, what it looks like when a society is forced to abandon its world to the water. The question it poses is simple. What will our own blueprint look like to the archaeologists of the future? The waters of Vatica Bay hold more than just a city. They hold a complete human story, waiting in the stillness. A place of such antiquity, preserved with such clarity, reminds us that the foundations of our own world are fragile. Time does not just erase, it also submerges, and it waits patiently to be read.